All right, hello again. So this video we're going to go over processing a scanned image in Adobe Camera Raw. You may have seen one, you may not have. Processing a scanned image in Photoshop. So this is similar but not the same, so I thought I would do it this way as well. You may see this in different classes. It's kind of a general purpose sort of processing of an image tutorial thing. So we're going to do this one in Camera Raw. So the general steps, we're going to do cropping and straightening. We might look at adjusting the composition a little bit with the rule of thirds, maybe. Getting rid of spots, adjusting the contrast and brightness, adding clarity and texture, etc. You'll see all this stuff if you haven't seen it before in the video. Sharpening in the sharpening panel, and then at the end we'll open it in Photoshop, and that's so that we can export it from Photoshop to get it out of to use it somewhere, theoretically. So yeah, that's it. So we've got here are some images in Bridge, Adobe Bridge, right? If this is a PNG file we're working on, which is a portable network graphic. If I right click, usually I will say, you know, how to open things in Camera Raw. You right click and say open in Camera Raw, but that doesn't show up here because it's a PNG, I think. I'm not sure why it does that. But so what you're gonna do instead is go to Photoshop directly and either click on the open button or go to file open up here. You can go to file open, or you can click on the open button, same result. And then here's the images, right? And there's the photo we're using. We're using familyphotos.png. I will give you that photo because you've been such good customers. And and so what it says down here though, it says format PNG, which makes sense, it's a PNG, right? But we need to open it in Camera Raw. So you're gonna click on that format and then choose Camera Raw there. I don't know why it doesn't say Adobe Camera Raw, which is the app that we're opening in, but, and it's not a Camera Raw file. I know it doesn't really make sense a whole lot. They should call it Adobe Camera Raw. Camera Raw is its own thing for different photo brands, whatever. We'll say Camera Raw. So it should say format Camera Raw right there. And then you click open and it opens in Adobe Camera Raw. So this is Adobe Camera Raw. You can see up at the top, and these are the normal panels and things. This may look different when you see this video or when you do it. It's changing all the time. They kind of move things around and hide things and move them. But basically, the image is in the center here. Over here on the right, you've got a bunch of panels where you can do a lot of things. Not everything that you can do in Photoshop, but most things you'd want to do as far as processing a photo. And then way on the right, way over here, you've got different tools. You have your basic edit panel, crop tool, eraser, mask, red eye reduction. I call it the exorcist tool. No, probably shouldn't call it that. That might be offensive. And then presets here, or snapshots, sorry, and then presets. And there's more underneath here, more stuff. But we're gonna go to the crop tool, which is the second tool up here on the right. So I probably mentioned this, or maybe you've heard this before, but the great thing about doing stuff in Adobe Camera Raw is it's all non-destructive, meaning well, let's put it that. A lot of it's non-destructive. Depends on what kind of file you're working on, actually. If it's a raw file, it's completely non-destructive, meaning you're not actually changing any pixels. You're just storing changes. In here as a PNG, it probably will save some of the changes. So, yeah, could be non-destructive. Definitely it's non-destructive if you're working on a raw file. Anyway, so we've got the crop tool here, and then the settings are up here, right here. So we want to rotate, or we're going to use this image. You probably saw this image before, maybe. We're going to do this one up here on the top right. So we need to rotate. Which way do we need to rotate? It's a math test now. Clockwise and 90 degrees, right? So I'm going to go to rotate and flip over here. And that is the button I think we want. And I rotated it clockwise. So there we go. Now it's at least close to straight. Over here on the crop tool, I'm going to drag in from the corners. If it has a certain ratio, which it wants to do all the time for some reason, it says locked. I don't want it to be locked to a certain shape. It's locked to the shape of the image, actually. The aspect ratio. I'm going to click on that lock right there to unlock it, and now I can do any crop I want, any shape I want, which is what I want. Same in Photoshop. You can do Command or Control plus and minus to zoom in. So I'm zooming in a little so I can see better. And then spacebar, just like in Photoshop, if you want to move around, you'll get the hand tool, space, so you can move around. And then I'm just going to go in here and crop a little bit. So if I was just going to crop out the white part, the edge of that image, I would just do that. But I want to put them, they're a little low in the frame, so we're going to put them, this crop tool has these rule of third lines on it, this grid, right? So I'm going to put it down a little bit and actually go in a little bit and get rid of some of the edge too. Yeah, so the rule of thirds says you kind of put important things at the intersections or on these lines or at the intersections of lines and things. So I'm gonna do that just to get a little better crop. I know we're cutting off his feet, but the original image does too, so I think we're stuck with that. So once you get what you want, you can hit enter and it's cropped. Oh, sorry, I had to get back in through the magic of editing. I accidentally hit the escape button, yes, and had to start over. So hopefully you don't do that. But so we've got the crop right. So now next we're gonna do spotting. So I'm gonna go up here to the top right. And that is right here. This is the button you want to press, and then you've got three options here now. You've got generative remove, you've got heal, and you've got clone. So clone will copy, heal just gets rid of things or small things, and then generative remove takes out big things, which we don't really need to do on this one, but I'm just gonna go to the second tool, which is the healing tool. So the healing tool is great for getting rid of spots and things. You can also click on this visualize spots if you want, which you may see in another video, but if you click on that and then you adjust this slider, it will sometimes highlight spots for you. So if you can't see them, especially in the sky, it feels like in a blue sky, you can't see them very well. I probably don't need it on this one, but maybe. But I can do it either way. So I'm gonna click on, the remove tool here, and then just like in Photoshop, you can use your square brackets to make it bigger and smaller. So square brackets are next to your P key. And then you just click on things to get rid of them. It's pretty much automated. Whoops. Yeah. And I'm gonna zoom in a little bit because you should be kind of close here to see what's going on. And then remember, just like in Photoshop, you want to make your brush just bigger than whatever you're getting rid of. Whatever that was on his forehead, here in the hair. And I'm not gonna do all these spots. Like I said, I think in a different video, if I was smart, I would get rid of, make sure these are clean if possible when they're scanned. This is a Polaroid, I think, which are kind of hip and cool now again. But I basically click on them to get rid of these spots. This is probably is too big, this brush. Let me go a little bit smaller. You want to be as small as possible. You can click and drag as well. So if I had a little bigger thing like this, let me zoom way in so you guys can see this. A bigger thing like this, scratch, maybe it'll work. Yeah, it worked okay. It's like CSI, like a forensic thing or something. If you don't like what you get, you can hit undo, Command Z, and then try it again. But yes, this could take quite a while in this image, but that's how you do it. You guys should do it all, but I'm not going to do it all because you'd be watching me do this for 10 minutes, which I know is super fun. But yeah, so that is how you can spot. The other two tools are for removing, like the generative remove is for getting out large things, like you can, like a person. Or the clone tool is for copying things. So if you wanted to make a copy of something, you could do that. I'm not going to go into that. Try to keep this a little bit shorter. But remember that you can use the visualize spots tool or checkbox, and then it will show you like stuff that you might miss. And then you can use this slider to make things more or less visible. So I'm going to just go ahead and get a couple more of these that are kind of obvious. I'm assuming these are spots. They might not be, but they probably are. Okay, so we're gonna pretend that we did all of that like a good professional would. And there we go. And I can go Command or Control 0, just like in Photoshop, to zoom to the right so that it fits, basically. And you'll see if I roll over this area here, the selected, I see all the little spots there. So those are all the little spots. Oh, they're little Band-Aids. They changed that. That's funny. Okay, so that is good on that. We're gonna pretend we did all that. Now I'm gonna go to the edit panel, which is E up here. It's at the very top. It's where you do most of the stuff in Camera Raw. And you kind of start from the top and work your way down. I'm not gonna go through all of this, obviously, because I'm trying to make this a shorter video. But the two things I am gonna do, or a couple things I'm gonna do in here, I'm gonna adjust the white and black point. So the fastest way to do that, and have it be kind of automated, is hit the Shift key and then click on Auto Whites. It's right there. So if I hold down Shift, it changes the options. So I clicked on Auto Whites and Auto Blacks. Ooh, that's pretty dark. I'm actually not gonna accept that black one. Or the white one. The white one may be okay, but I'm gonna manually adjust. I'm looking up here at the histogram, and you definitely wanna not just do things automatically when it's not working automatically, but when you set the black point, you're setting the, you're making some part of the image be black, and then the same with the white point. Those auto settings did not look that great to me, so I'm gonna back them off a little bit. And look at this histogram up here. I want everything to be contained inside of this histogram up here. So that's probably okay. I could adjust the exposure if I want. That's gonna be the middle values. So if I want to go a little brighter, a little darker, actually I think it looks okay. I'm gonna leave it in the middle. I could add some contrast, but it's pretty contrasty already. I'm not sure contrasty is a word, but I'm gonna use it. Contrast will look good on photos, actual photos of like landscapes or cars or cities, buildings, crisp stuff. Maybe contrast on pictures of people, especially this scan, is not going to add a lot. So I'm not going to add any of that. I could bring down the highlights a little bit. This is something I often do, and bring up the shadows a little bit so that we can see a little more detail in the shadow areas. And then also in the highlights. There's not really any highlights here that I want to really bring out, so I'm not going to do much of that. So something like that. This is all up to you most of the time, right? So there you go. So I adjusted the highlights and shadows a little bit and the black and white. I left the exposure and contrast the same. I'm gonna go to color now, and this is similar to what you may have seen in a different video about Photoshop. There's a tool here where you can do white balancing. So it's right there. And you click on that, and then you just click on something that should be neutral, meaning gray. I'm gonna click on the wall and see what happens. I may should click on the TV. Ooh, that's very green. So I'm gonna click around until I get kind of a result that I kind of like. Maybe this little shade, that's pretty close. Feels a little green to me. So I'm gonna go over here and fine tune. And this depends on your monitor as well, if your monitor is well adjusted or not. I think it's a little green and maybe a little blue. And you can warm this up too. You can do this manually. The one that you're gonna use most of the time if you're adjusting your white balance manually, which is the color balance of your image basically, is this temperature slider, right? So if I go to the right, it looks like you're on the sun, right? If I go to the left, you're on Pluto, right? You want to be somewhere in between, like you're on Earth. So I can adjust that to taste a little bit as well. I think it was a little blue, so I'm gonna go make it a little warmer. If you go a little warmer, it gets a little more friendly. Right? Happy, friendly, warm versus cold, which is more sad and not as friendly. So I went a little plus on the temperature, which actually I didn't really do much at all. So I'm +1 on that. And basically I didn't do much with that white balance. But that's what it's for, is to get these colors balanced. I am going to add a tiny bit of vibrance. Maybe you saw this before, but this is going to add a little bit of color saturation and pop to the colors that aren't already saturated. Just makes them pop. If you do it too much, it doesn't look good, right? So try not to use these vibrance and saturation sliders as eye candy, meaning like, ooh, look, everybody wants to look at the image. It's so bright, right? And colors are crazy. You don't want to do that. It will make anything look better, but that's, you want it to look kind of normal too, right? Realistic. I'm going to go down below that and go to effects. You could add texture here, make it a little, it's sort of like sharpening these two sliders. They're not technically sharpening, but they look like sharpening. So you can add texture and clarity to do that if you want. I would just do a tiny bit on this image. This stuff really works well on landscapes. This is not a landscape, so I probably wouldn't do it too much. But you could do a little just to play with it. And then there's a vignetting slider. So you can have a white vignette or a dark vignette if you want to. Lots of people seem to like this dark vignette thing. There's another way to do this too, but I think you'll see that in a different video. If you wanted to add grain for some strange reason, you could do that. So that makes it look like an old school film that had grain in it. And some people like that look. I'm not going to add any, but that is also under there. The next one down is a curve. That one also will add some contrast if you make what's called an S curve. So all I did here was click and drag up a little bit near this 3/4 mark here and down a little bit near this 1/4 mark. And the steeper this slope is, the more contrasty the image gets. If you go this far, it looks like, there's like a nuclear war going on or something. So just a slight S curve will give you a little bit of a contrast boost if you want it or need it. I don't think this image really needs it, but I put it in anywhere. I'll put it in anyway just to see how that works. So that's the curve. The rest of this we're gonna ignore. You may see it in a different video except for detail. So you do wanna usually add some sharpening. I'm gonna go to, I'm gonna say, like I said in the other video, if you saw that one about Photoshop, sharpen to taste. If your destination is the web, meaning, or the internet, let's not say the web, the internet, a post or something, right? So you want to make it look as sharp as you want it to look when it's going to be actually on a website or in a post or something like that. So what you see is what you get a little bit. If I go too far again, it looks a little too crispy. So I'm gonna back off a little bit. And also, if I want to, I can open this up here. And there are 3 settings in there. I'll try to put up some guide over this video in the post-processing process and tell you what some settings might be. One that I did want to show you though is masking. So masking will, if I adjust the masking and then I hold down Option or Alt, and you may see this in a different video, it will only sharpen the areas that are kind of white there. So it's going to ignore, like you don't want to sharpen the wall, right? So if the wall is black, there it's sharpening everything. If the wall is black, then it's not going to get sharpened. And I don't want to sharpen it. So I probably will use this masking slider here a little bit. And that way I know it's only sharpening edges that I want to sharpen, like around the eyes and the hair and stuff. I don't want to sharpen the wall. I don't want to see little stuff appear on the wall. So I'm going to use that masking slider. That's a good little example of that. Probably helping out a little bit. There's also noise reduction here. If you want to use that, I don't know if there's a lot of noise in here because this was shot on a regular camera, not a digital camera. But if you had noise in your image, which are stray pixels of the wrong color or brightness, you could use these noise sliders. So luminance is brightness, color is color. So that's how you can get rid of some of that noise stuff. If you have it. This one does not really need that, I don't think. All right. The only other thing I would show you is if I shot this with a camera, which I didn't, this is a scan, right? So there's no point. I would turn on this use profile corrections right here under optics. But this is not from a camera. I mean, it's from a camera, but this file is from a scan, not from a camera. So that will not do anything. So I'm going to leave that off. So I'm not going to do anything under optics. So I think we are kind of done with what we're going to do to this image, pretending that we did all the sharpening, the spotting that I didn't do because I was lazy and I didn't want a super long video. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go down to Open Copy down here in the bottom right. If I click Done, it's just going to save the image the way it is, which I don't really want. If I click Cancel, I wasted all that time. If I click Open Copy, it should open a copy of what I just did in Photoshop. So now I've got a copy or a different version of the image in Photoshop. And now I can do the export. So you may have seen this already, maybe a couple places, so I won't spend much time on it, but I'm going to go to File, Export, and Export As. Let me do that again because I was kind of fast. File, Export, and then Export As. That's the most common way to export probably. And then I'm going to save this as a JPEG because I'm going to pretend I'm going to put it on a website or something. I'm going to put the quality at 5. If I go low, the quality will go down. If I go super high, the quality will go up, but the file size goes up and down as well. Maybe you saw this already somewhere. So usually with JPEGs, you can go slightly above halfway and you're going to get a good, pretty good looking version, and the file size will be reduced. I am going to resize this as I export, just like I did in the other video. I'm going to make this one 1000 pixels wide. So the way I do that is just type in 1000 there. And then I'll hit tab and you'll see that it will automatically adjust the height. I don't want to change them separately because then you're going to get squished people or some distortion stuff, which I don't want. The rest of this I can kind of leave the way it is, like we did in the Photoshop video, if you saw that one. So I resized to 1000 pixels wide. I changed it to a JPEG, and then I put the quality at 5. You could go higher or lower. Your job is to kind of balance the file size, which is right there, with the actual size, which is right here. So that's it. I'm going to click on export. Actually, I'm going to click on export, and I will save that as Family Photos 3 and Camera Raw. So I know I did that in Camera Raw. And then I'll just click save. And then it will kick you back out to the PNG version. But if I look at the folder that I just saved to, there is the one that we just made. Now it looks a little yellow to me. But I can always go back and adjust that. Especially if it's a raw file, like I said. But I think that's it. That's it for processing a scanned file. And most of those steps you would do on a regular image as well. By regular, I mean it came from a camera or somewhere else and not from a scan. But I wanted to do the scan to show you the spotting and things like that, which hopefully you don't have to do too much if it's from a camera. But sometimes you do. But I think that's about it for this one. Hopefully that helps a little bit with processing an image in Adobe Camera Raw. And I will talk to you again later.